would you like to manifest love? Jonathon Aslay will tell us how. And what's so special about Jonathon is he's a relationship and dating coach specializing in helping over 40s find love. So, Jonathon, tell us about how can entrepreneurs who are currently single or who are perhaps have already experienced a midlife crisis and have gone through all the worst possible dates, how can they find the one?
Manifestation Empress podcast
with Lily Patrascu shares manifestation strategies to live your dream life.
Yeah, no, this is a great question. And thank you for having me on, Lily. I'm really excited to be here. So, much like manifesting anything in our lives, from that perspective of law of attraction, of putting your creative visualization, all those sorts of things, love is in that same genre. But I think much like when we think of business, I think one of the challenges most people have when it comes to love is very nebulous. Or worse, it's too granular, like it's based on the person's height or the person's profession or, a lot of the list kind of things, instead of actually tapping into what do you really want to feel within a relationship? Do you want to feel chemistry? Do you want to feel, good communication? Do you want to feel that compatibility, that commitment, that trust, and really start to focus on what you want to feel in a relationship instead of the laundry list most people focus on?
Thank you. Why is it so important to feel what you might want to feel in a relationship as opposed to just having a list of, okay, I want him to be like 1.9 meter tall and this height and this, this weight, and I want him to be kind and financially stable and interesting to talk to. Why is it important to phrase it in the same way that you kind of mentioned, to feel, to imagine like the feeling of what it would feel like to be with that person?
Yeah. So, and that's a great question. So, by the way, I'm in the United States, so I'm going to use the foot and inches, baseline. So, here in the United States, particularly women, they seem to be fixated on wanting men over 6 foot tall. Now, what's interesting when you ask them, why is that important to you outside of the aesthetics in and of itself? Because there's certainly, from a beauty vantage point, height, certainly for both men and women alike, seems to be more attractive. But women will oftentimes say, I want to feel protected. Now, what's interesting is in the United States, we have an elite class of fighters called Navy SEALs. In other parts of the world, they have special ops, special forces. And what's interesting is some of the most elite fighters, and what I mean, I'm talking, Army, Navy, that sort of thing. The average Navy SEAL is only 5'9", and yet I'm 6'2". Physically, I might look like I can protect, but actually, I can't fight my way out of a paper bag, So that idea of being protective is really more of an egoic desire than it is really feeling protected, because someone much shorter can actually protect you even better than someone much taller. But why feelings are so important is that ultimately, the purpose of being in a relationship isn't about the statistics. I mean, if you want, you can have a transactional relationship. The man could be the provider, protector, the woman could be the homemaker. Although in midlife, it's a lot more complicated because roughly 75% of singles over 45 years old are divorced. And with divorce comes a real complicated mix of how do you even blend lives together? So with that said, ultimately, though, if you can financially take care of yourself, the other person can financially take care of yourself, then really what's the purpose of a relationship? It's mostly the emotional connection. So from a manifestation vantage point, rather than looking at the laundry list of how tall they are, how much they have in the bank, how pretty they are, and that sort of thing, what is it that you want to feel? You want to feel great chemistry. Well, great chemistry can be achieved outside of your perceived egoic desires. Great communication can be achieved outside of your egoic desires. And so from a manifestation standpoint, here's the invitation. It's ultimately is how you want to feel is how you're going to attract it in your life.
Thank you. What would you say are the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurial women make when trying to manifest their desired one?
Yeah, that's a great question. So women have a propensity to want somebody even more successful than them, smarter than them, all of them more and above. Okay. But ultimately, from especially successful entrepreneurial women who can completely support themselves, and actually they might have the resources to even support another person. The question is, if you're focused on someone's capacity to generate resources or the status of their professional life, believe me, most of those men are so ingrained in that they don't even have time for a relationship. So if you're a successful, high earning, high achieving woman, I know it might feel attractive to be with that guy that's even more, but he may not even be remotely capable of meeting your emotional needs, meeting your needs of listening, you're meeting your needs of being present. Those actually I believe, have more value than focusing on the external things.
Thank you. Does that mean that, let's say I'm 43 at the moment, instead of looking for like a guy in finance with blue eyes and, a tall guy in the finance, I should look for a gardener or a mechanic, because he's more likely to be emotionally available and more likely to fill my...
I'm sorry to interrupt. So let's just look for, instead of looking for that tall guy with blue eyes or then looking for the gardener who, kind of thing, why not throw out that list and simply focus on, I want to feel an amazing connection. I want to feel an abundant lifestyle with this person. I want to feel real sensual pleasure with a person. Focus on what you want to feel and not the external things in the universe. Come back to manifestation. What is the manifestation all about? Is asking the universe for what you want. The problem is when you make it 6'2", blonde hair, blue eyes, or whatever it is, the universe goes, man, you've made that too hard. Just tell me what you want to feel, and I'll fill that with whoever fits the bill, whether it's the gardener or the highly successful person.
Thank you. Now, how can I, let's say, not go wrong in terms of...
But do you see how our ego can get in the way?
Yes, absolutely. So
go ahead.
How can I not go wrong in terms of, like, let's say I want to manifest a guy, like you say, that makes me feel valued, special, blah, blah. And then let's say I manifest a narcissist. And a lot of the narcissists are actually very good chameleons. And it's so hard to even tell that they are the wrong person for you. So how do I not manifest the wrong person for me that only pretends to be like lovey-dovey and everything and actually has 10 girls on the side as well? He is, let's say, okay, sure, he makes me feel amazing, lovely, charmed, whatever, is financially stable, all the different aspects. I feel abundant. And then all of a sudden I find out actually he's dating 10 other women as well. It makes them feel just as good.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. Well, you know what? Oftentimes that higher success, that more attractive person, just generally speaking, is probably an alpha, dominant, controlling, possibly self-centric type person. That's just kind of inherent of people that hyper focus on success. Not always, but it certainly is the case. So I would also, part of your repertoire in manifesting is ask the universe for an emotionally mature person with good relationship skills, who is committed to commitment, who is a team player, who is selfless and selfish in a self-love kind of way, but in other words, he has his own sovereignty. So you can ask for those kind of things. It's the minute we create this diagram of what they look like opening up a Vogue magazine and saying that, the universe says, well, there's only one person that looks just like that. So you just made it hard for me. And then you say, well, can he kind of look like that? And the universe will says, well, there's only 10 people, but they live in a different country than you. So why not focus on what you want to feel? Safe, connected, present, compassion, sensuality, banter that can go on for hours and hours at a time. Start emotional maturity, good relationship skills, good communication skills, instead of the laundry list, because the laundry list doesn't seem to be working. Here's the sad reality. They say by the year 2030, roughly 50% of women will be single. In other words, not mated. I think part of it is because they're operating on an old script, a script of he needs to fit a certain diagram, otherwise I won't choose him, instead of focusing what you want to feel without the specifics. And the universe will absolutely manifest that person for you if you also represent what you want to feel. So you have to be also what you want to feel. You have to represent that as well.
Thank you. That brings me to a very important question. What do I need to feel within myself so that I can become a vibrational match for the person that I want to attract?
Yeah. That's a great question. And what most people don't realize is that we all have childhood wounds and adult traumas that create negative patterns, limiting beliefs in our lives. We are all experiencing it. When we think of traumas, we oftentimes think of it as a big trauma, like somebody who experienced physical abuse or real deep emotional abuse. But believe it or not, every single time your parents said no to you as a child, that's a trauma. Every time you wanted to go out and play and your parents yelled at you, that is a traumatic event. We don't recognize that as a traumatic event, but to a child, it can be. And very few children were raised in an idyllic Ozzie and Harriet type of Rockwell painting kind of environment. And certainly millennials and, tail end Gen Xers, they were one of the first populations to be raised by divorced parents. The divorce, right off the bat, if you like, 1 out of 2 people these days are a product of divorce. If you've been divorced, believe me, that is an emotionally traumatic event. In addition, we all have what's known as a love attachment style, the way we attach to another human being. And oftentimes we choose people that are kind of like one or both of our parents that feel familiar, but they're not right for us. So coming back to your question, I am a big proponent of doing personal development, self-help, spiritual work. Right behind me, you can see my book. It's called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Which is a journey of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. And also, I highly encourage. And by the way, my book is very simplistic. It's just a door opener to recommend all these other modalities to work and heal on oneself. Because if somebody has a pattern of choosing the same people over and over again, well, maybe we got to look in the mirror and go, what part do I play in all of this? And when you start picking it apart, you'll start to recognize your pattern.
Thank you. What about people that, let's say, are not aware that this is happening? What can they do? Because I think a lot of people just go into the same pattern. Like, for example, my mother, she was a divorced parent, and she started dating one guy, and then he was beating her up, and then she left him, and she started dating another, and he was beating her up. And it was just a very traumatic experience to be part of that, And after I kind of grew more mature, I realized she was only choosing men that she could fix. And I don't know why. She wanted to be like somehow the nurse, the fixer. And for me, for example, like I had a long-term relationship with a guy who was hardly speaking. And then I had a long-term relationship with a guy who was speaking a lot. And it was really, really awesome.
Okay.
And I'm single again. And now I'm afraid to like choose again wrong, you know?
Okay. So coming back to well, first off, if you're watching this right now and you're going, okay, if I look in the mirror and say, I'm the common denominator to all of my experiences, then really be granular to looking at your pattern. So talking about your mother and her pattern is to look, okay, I have a pattern. What attracted me to this person? Start connecting the dots backwards and start connecting what made you attracted to that person. Was it the superficial things? Was it love bombing? Was it unfortunately here in the United States we've adopted a system of attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection as the entry point to sex. Okay, but sex doesn't guarantee a long-term committed relationship. Vetting and being discerning about compatibility. Do you share the same values? Do you have the same vision? Are your lifestyles blendable? And lastly, is this person emotionally mature enough to be in a relationship? This requires Lily asking radically hard questions. But Jonathon, I don't want to ask questions because that's interviewing, is what I hear from women. You want to interrogate people before you have physical intimacy. Now, I say it with a big smile on my face when I say interrogate. But what does interrogate mean? It means getting to the truth, asking really hard questions very early on, finding out about the person's past relationship. Did they take ownership of their part? Asking these deeper questions to make sure that there's alignment. But you see, if you're walking down a street and you fall in a hole, and tomorrow you walk down the same street and you fall in the hole, and the next day you walk down the same street and you see the hole and you still fall in, and the next day you walk down the street and you fall in again, you got to at some point saying, hey, either walk around the hole or choose another street. And you got to take ownership of your part. And this takes radical self-awareness.
Thank you. How can I start feeling chosen so that I can be chosen? Because I find that there seems to be like this loop of I'm not choosing the people that choose me, and I'm choosing the people that are not choosing me.
Well, you're choosing the person who isn't choosing you, or you're being chosen, but you're not choosing them.
Yes.
Is really the issue. So the question is, you said, how can I be chosen? You are being chosen. You're oftentimes possibly rejecting the person that chooses you.
Yeah.
How about you just operate from a place of detachment to outcome? But most importantly, do you know what the sad thing I see lacking today is? People building a genuine friendship with the person. We have here in the United States, we have so many short-lived experiences. We have a lot of times short-lived, third date sex or just a situationship. We have a lot of short-lived experiences, partially because they jump into bed too quickly. But they're not really building a friendship with this person. Do I really like this person? Do we share the same vibe? Do we share the same passions? Do I even like this person? And sadly, we don't build enough genuine, heartfelt friendship because we hyper focus on the physical component. And once you're physically attached, you almost feel like you have to double down on the wrong person just because you already are pot committed. You have too much invested. So operating from a detached place of building friendship, along with, the physical part's important. Chemistry is important, but believe it or not, I'm in a significant relationship. She's my life partner. We weren't attracted to each other on the first date, but we built this amazing friendship. And then, boom, chemistry was built through the connection of friendship.
Thank you. Do you find that it's actually possible to have everything? And I'm talking like great physical connection, great communication, partner who is loyal, like absolutely everything? Or you find that actually you have to get real with the idea that nobody's perfect and there will be 70% that you're going to get, and then you just have to live with the fact that the 30% or the certain percentage will always be missing, and you just have to live with the fact that nobody's perfect.
Yeah. Well, first off, nobody is perfect. Even you looking in the mirror, if you're watching this, you're not perfect. Lily and I are not perfect. None of us are perfect. Because, well, and by the way, on a spiritual sense, we are all perfect beings. So from that vantage point, we're all perfect. Um, you know, relationships are twofold. One is a relationship will push your buttons to grow. That's one of the benefits of a relationship. At the same time, can we experience genuine love? Can we experience genuine passion? Can we experience all those things in one container? Absolutely. The real trick, I think, is letting go of fears, insecurities, judgments, negative patterns, limiting beliefs, recognizing that our actions affect another human being. But most importantly, what I see so distressingly lacking in most couples is a genuine sense of appreciation. We're focused on what we're not getting instead of appreciating what we do get. I happen to be in a relationship with probably, I mean, she checks almost every single box. I mean, I think we both would like to be worth $20 million. That box isn't checked, but we check almost every other box. And it's because we are in radical appreciation of all the good things we have. And we talk about the areas where we need to grow. And we are there to help each other grow on an emotional level because growth is one of our highest values. I think the reality is most people dating today are focused on superficial values and not real core healthy values that sustain real deep love.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Oh, well, first off, thanks for having me on. I love talking about manifestation. I hope for those watching, you got value from this. So my name is listed here, Jonathon Aslay. Just cut and paste that, put that in Google. My YouTube channel will show up. My website will show up. My social media show up. My book on Amazon will show up just by plugging my name into Google.
Thank you.
Follow me for more manifestation techniques.